here on my channel, I'm all about helping you level up your money. So I wanted to share 10 quick tips that will help you with that process and that you can start to implement right away. Some of these will help you level up your money in the short term, and some are more longer term level ups. So let's get started. Number one is to budget and track your expenses carefully. I have an entire budgeting playlist that I'll link to in the description if you're just getting started with budgeting, but I feel like it's one of the really important cornerstones of being able to be successful in your money level up journey is really know how much money you have coming in, how much you have going out, and if you're putting money towards the really important things that you need to put it towards, such as debt repayment, saving towards an emergency fund, savings towards big purchases such as perhaps your first home, and then also being able to start planning for retirement. So all of those super important things. I have a video that I will link to in the description about how you can easily budget in Excel. If you've got Excel, it's completely free. There's also a great budgeting app called YNAB, or You Need a Budget, and you can also look at using them. And Mint used to be great, except Mint has gone away for some reason. So anyway, YNAB is kind of what I refer people to now, and this isn't sponsored by them. But if you prefer app-based budgeting, you might check that out. There's obviously lots of other budgeting apps as well that you can research in your time as you're looking at everything with that. But that's the first one, is to really start budgeting if you haven't already. Great place to start. The second thing is to build an emergency savings account. So this is really important. It's a fund. You can set it up as a high yield savings account is what I recommend you doing. And I'll link to my video that I did about high yield savings accounts recently. If you don't have one yet, it'll help you get started with where to get the best deals and your interest on those in 2024. But anyway, if you can start to save up money for anywhere between 3 and 6 months of your basic living expenses. So we're talking your housing costs, fuel, utilities, and food, and healthcare costs. So any kind of healthcare premiums that you're paying. And those are the things that you want to put in that emergency fund. What's really interesting is that in 2020, a study from the Journal of Family Economic Issues found that 46% of Americans could not cover an unexpected expense of just $400 with cash they had on hand. So even if you just have $400, $500 in savings, that's a great place to start. And then just continue to build on that over time. But that will just help you weather all those financial ups and downs that come along that are just part of life. Unfortunately, it'd be nice if they didn't happen, but they happen. And so that way you've got some money to fall back on in a crisis. The third thing that you can start to do to level up your money is to pay off your high interest debt. So this is something that you look at all of your debt that you have, you see what the interest rates are on your debt, and then you pick the one with the highest APR or annual percentage rate interest, and you work on paying that off. Once you get that paid off, you repeat the process with the next one. What's your next highest? Pay that off. Then what's your next highest? And so that way you can take that money that you were spending in interest on all of those loans, put it back in your pocket, and start funneling it towards your emergency savings. So it's a really good trick to start leveling up your money, is to pay off your high interest debt. And then also, while you're at it, really start to consider a debt-free lifestyle, because it is not something that I feel like we are really encouraged to do these days with our hyper-consumer culture that we live in. But it's really important to think about how much do you want to be free from debt, because debt is a real burden. It's a real stressor. It creates a lot of problems for people. It can create a lot of stress and tension around money. So if you want to be free, a great place to start is by committing to a debt-free lifestyle and just work your way through paying off the debt that you have. And then don't take out more unless you have an emergency come up, is kind of what my best advice to you on debt is. And make sure you're not running monthly credit card bills. It's a good idea to keep your credit cards around, keep them paid off, but keep them around because you can use them as kind of like a micro loan if you have an emergency expense come up. Put it on the credit card and then pay it off. But make sure you're not running monthly credit card balances as much as is possible. Because again, those create headache, they create stress. You have to go back and see, well, what is all this stuff on this credit card? What is even on here? And then have to deal with that. So it's just easier to just keep your bills on your credit card even paid every day, every couple of days, maybe every week at the most is what I try to do. The fourth thing here to help you level up your money is to invest in low-cost index funds. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, but there's many of them out there that you can hire who will help you pick out which ones of these to get. Also, if you're kind of a do-it-yourself investor and a do-it-yourself learner and you learn by doing things, then what I recommend that you do is go check out E-Trade. It's completely free. It's not sponsored. This video is not sponsored by them, but it's just the platform I use for my trading and investing. And over on E-Trade, if you open up an account for free, then you transfer your money from your bank account at your financial institution over to your E-Trade portfolio. And they also have IRAs, for example, so you can start building your retirement nest egg over there. But within your IRA or within whatever other portfolio you're using, you can start to research ETFs, or what are called exchange traded funds. So it's just a basket of holdings in a lot of different companies, for example, that then are all in that exchange traded fund. So it's a very diversified fund to own then, because it's not just like having a ton of shares of Apple or a ton of shares of Google, for example. You have an ETF, but it's got within that, it's probably got holdings in 100 to 500 other companies, if you will, or there's other kinds of ETFs too with different things in them. But anyway, there's lots of great research tools over at E-Trade that you can use for free. They'll give you advice on if it's a good time to buy, sell, or hold various ETFs. And so you can really be able to learn and educate yourself that way. And again, consult an investment advisor as well if you want to be able to be guided more specifically to what to purchase. But low-cost ETFs are a great place to start if you're just starting your investment journey. Number 5 to level up your money and your wealth is to increase your income streams. So this is not just asking for a raise at work. This is also looking at, do you have a side gig that you can start? Do you have a product that you could make and sell on Amazon or sell on Etsy? Do you have a service that you can offer in your community that you can get hired out to do? Do you want to do freelance work, for example, if you're a graphic designer? So the list goes on and on of different ways to make money on the side, but that's something a lot of people have turned to during this cost of living crisis. And the more of those individual income streams you can get going, the better. And for example, real estate holdings are a good one that a lot of people turn to, although perhaps not as good right now because the real estate market is vastly overpriced. But if you already hold a real estate, if you already hold a real estate investment, that's fantastic to be able to pull money from that in terms of rental income. So anyway, there's so many different ways, but the more diversification you can have in your income streams coming in every single month, the better, because that way you can just have money coming in from a variety of sources and you're not solely dependent on your employer to be holding up your whole financial world and all of your expenses and everything. You've got many different places that money's coming in from. The 6th way that you can level up your money is to start negotiating your bills and subscriptions. So it's a really interesting thing. I've got a book that I'll link to. It's on my bookshelf somewhere back there, but it's called Never Split the Difference, and it's written by an FBI hostage negotiator. And it's a great book. It is such an interesting read, so I'd recommend that you read it just like for fun because it's absolutely phenomenal. But he has a really interesting chapter in there about negotiating car purchases. That's great. And personally, I think the salesman at the car dealership came out the worst for the wear from this interaction with this hostage negotiator, because this guy is obviously skilled and trained in negotiating. So negotiating prices is really a good skill to know how to do. And it's also important to remember that most of the time prices are negotiable. A lot of times we think they're set in stone, and perhaps they are. I mean, if you're at the grocery store, it's probably not going to help you that much to be haggling over the price of eggs right now. But, if you're having a bid on your house work, for example, say you're having some home maintenance done and they quote you a certain amount, you can always ask and say, well, can we get a discount? Or is this a price that we can negotiate through? What would you say to this proposal instead of the one that you gave me, and be able to work on that as well. So, and same thing with subscriptions or anything else like that. So, your cable bill, for example, you can always call and say, hey, we've been a loyal customer with y'all for 5 years. Can we get a better rate? We're not very happy with this rate and we're considering changing servers for our internet. So it just is a good thing to be able to go back through and see where you can save some money and just save yourself some money in general with any new bills that you have coming up and then any current subscriptions. The seventh way that you can level up your money is to level up your credit score. So I have a whole series about credit score, why it's important, what it is, and all that good stuff that I'll link to in the description. But long story short, your credit score is basically a number that lenders look at to see if you are a good risk to them in terms of, do they want to lend you their money? What are the odds they'll get it back? What are the odds that you'll be paying your bills on time on this loan, and so forth. So that's a really good thing to start working on. If you don't know what your credit score is, I recommend you go to Experian.com and create an account, and then you can check and see what your credit score is. There's 3 credit bureaus. There's Experian, TransUnion, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but I'll put it on screen. So those are the 3 credit bureaus, and it's really valuable to not only know your credit score, but log on to each one of those and go ahead and put what's called a credit freeze on. It's completely free to you, and it protects you from identity theft. And so they used to charge you to put the freezes on and off, and it was really annoying. It was like $1 or something. Now it's completely free. So super easy way to help protect yourself against identity theft. You can do it for elderly relatives. You can also, with their permission, obviously, you can also do this for your children and your teenagers, just to be able to have identity theft protection for them as well. But anyway, it's really a good tool to use with Experian because they give you lots of great resources there about how to improve your credit score and what you need to do. So, and again, check out my playlist for more on that as well. The 8th thing that you can do to level up your finances is to automate your savings and investments. So a lot of times it's just so easy, especially right now in this high cost of living crisis that we're in, that the prices on everything are pretty much higher than they've been since the 1970s. So if you feel like prices are high, they're high. It's not in your head, and you're not alone. But it's really easy to spend all our money on today's needs, today's wants, and forget about what we need for tomorrow, for our future selves. Super, super easy to just spend everything. So if you have some automatic drafts coming out, like of your bank account when you're getting paid on payday, if you have money just automatically going out to, say, a high yield savings account, so it's out of sight, out of mind, and maybe that's where you're building your emergency fund. Maybe you've got another automatic draft that's going straight out to your IRA over at your investment platform, such as E-Trade, for example. So again, out of sight, out of mind, and it's just done and it's taken off the top, and then you live off the rest of whatever's left. Then that's a thing that you can do. And you don't have to have it automated if your paycheck doesn't come in regularly on the 1st and the 15th or whatever, and you're having money kind of trickle in throughout the month, and it's perfectly fine to just pick a percentage of what you're going to dedicate towards an emergency fund, towards your retirement savings, and just have maybe a day that you move money over to those places where you need to move it. And I really recommend that for savings accounts, for retirement accounts, have it at a different bank than you're currently banking out for the rest of your bills, because the more that you can put those savings accounts just out of sight, out of mind, the better, the less likely you are to touch them. Obviously, there's penalties for breaking money out of your IRA early, so that's an easy one. But even for your high yield savings accounts, if it's just not at the same bank that you normally bank with, you know, it's just one more barrier you're putting in your way to basically, unfortunately, robbing your future self of that money. And so that way you can have it where it's just not, you're not thinking about, oh, we ran the credit card over, let's use the money from savings to pay it off. No, you want to leave that money alone and let it grow. The 9th skill that you can use to level up your money is continue to work on your personal level up, your education, your skills development, things like this. Such an important thing that I talk about constantly here on my channel. I'm really into self-help and personal development. And it's really, really important to continue to work on this. And this includes taking care of your health, because obviously, what is the point of having a lot of wealth that you accumulate over your life if you're not healthy to enjoy it, or if you haven't invested in spending time on the things that make you happy, like your relationships and spending time with your loved ones, giving back to your community, different things like this that really are what brings us joy. What's the point in being rich if you don't have kind of those other layers like your health and your happiness in place as well? So really kind of having that dedication and commitment to every single week, continuing to learn new skills, continue to level yourself up, continue to invest in yourself, and just look at yourself as a work in progress. I think a lot of times the narrative is grow up, go to school, graduate from high school, go to college, graduate from college, get a job, and then just like, you're good. And things have changed so much because sometimes the companies that you might start working for in college, maybe they're not even there anymore, in another 10 or 15 years. It's such a different world than the one our parents and our grandparents grew up in. And so much change is just constantly coming our way. So it's really important to be flexible and adaptable and continue to work on your skills and continue to say, hey, I can learn these new skills. This might be new to me, and this might be something that I didn't really want to have to learn, but I can learn this. I can figure this out, and I can adapt to the situation. And so having that growth mindset is really important. Having that mindset of, I can learn new things, and I'm not just like set in stone, and this is the way I am, and I'm never going to change. No. So I'll link to a really good book in the description by Carol Dweck that's about mindset and about how to develop a growth mindset. That's basically like the textbook on how to do that. I'll link to that in the description. The 10th way then to be able to level up your money is seek financial counseling. So this is really, really important, especially if you are in a lot of debt right now and feeling really overwhelmed with debt. There's some great free debt counseling services that I'll link to in the description that will really be able to help guide you about how to manage all of the debt that you're in, so you don't have to be shouldering that alone, because that's a very stressful, lonely place to be. And you're not alone. Debt is such a big part of our lives right now, unfortunately, and especially things like medical debt and healthcare debt can just be overwhelming and crippling. And so reach out to debt counselors. Also reach out to a financial advisor and an investment advisor if you want to have somebody work one-to-one with you to help come up with like a customized plan for you and where you are with your situation right now. Because a lot of what I teach on my channel is very general. It's very broad. It's not tailored to your situation. So if you hire a financial advisor, or if you're looking at leveling up your investments, hire an investment advisor. They can help you put together, for example, a portfolio that's suitable and appropriate for where you are in your stage in life and what's going to be best for you. So those are my top 10 tips for helping you level up your money, which is what we're all about here on my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I so appreciate your comments and for you being here in this wonderful community that we're building. And I will see you again soon in my next video.